and welcome back to my channel. My name is Carol and I'm a freelance lifestyle journalist who also runs almostdiplomatic.com. It's where I share about my life as a millennial diplomat's wife, the good life on a budget, and currently living in and traveling from Berlin. So for today's video, as promised, we are going to discuss small talk. So I know that gets a lot of bad rep. People would often say they don't have time for small talk and it's just a waste of time. But can you actually just go up to someone you've never met before and just ask them about their hopes and dreams, or what do they think about love or life, like these sorts of things? And I feel that if you do that to anyone these days, they would find you creepy. I mean, at any point in time, it would always be creepy. So for you to get to a meaningful conversation, you always need to begin with small talk. So even up to now, yes, 2019, we have so much to do. We feel like we have very little time and we just want to get to the point and get to know people. But if you want to get there, then you have to begin somewhere, right? So I personally believe that small talk is still an important skill, especially if you're someone who attends events. It could be a diplomatic event, a formal event, or even a casual party at your friend's house. If you're someone who wants to expand your network or even make new friends, then it's something that you should at least get to know a little bit or be comfortable enough to do. With that said, let's begin on some of the things that I want to share with you about small talk. Give a few minutes of your time to think about who else is going to be at this event. So let's say it's a diplomatic reception. For which country? Let's say Indonesia. And who will be the people that you'll meet there? So most likely you will meet Indonesians there, the people who work at the embassy and their families, other diplomats from different countries, or people from the foreign office where you are posted in, and the people who are handling Indonesia or Southeast Asia. So these are already giving you topics in your head on what to talk about. Let's say you've been to Indonesia before and you already have an idea what it's like, and then these are things that you could discuss, maybe happy memories in the country. Or another thing would be, if you haven't been to Indonesia yet, then you can ask them like, so what's it like in Indonesia? Or which city do you come from? What's it like there? This is not only for diplomatic events, because one thing that all events have in common is that they are happening for a reason. So make sure that you know why you are there and what you are celebrating, even if you're just someone's plus one. Another thing that I can advise you is to make sure that you know who the hosts are, or at least how they look, so that when you arrive at a party, you could greet them, which is good manners. And also, if you are there at that party through like another invite and you don't really know anyone, then the host can introduce you to someone who you can talk to that night. And before you go to any event, make sure that you remind yourself of the topics that you should never ever touch on. They are politics, religion, money, gossip, anything that's overly controversial, and anything that is personal. Alright, so you've arrived at the party, and the first thing that you notice is that a lot of people are already in groups and they're already talking. There's already a good vibe going on. Maybe there are a couple of people, maybe one or two, up to three, who still don't have anybody to talk to. However, the person that you want to talk to, the one that caught your eye, is already in a group, maybe surrounded by 3 or 4 more people. And the one thing that you should do right away is to feel the vibe. Is the group open to having more people, or are they having like a very deep conversation or something serious? But normally, parties like these are not the place for that. So I would say you're probably good. And there's nothing wrong with just going up to a group that you want to join and just say, hello, good evening, my name is. Just introduce yourself and ask, how's everybody doing? I notice that the hands normally don't know where to go, what to do. They would go like this, they would go like this. And it just sends a signal that you're not open and that you're not up for a good conversation. So I just noticed that this gives like a really weird vibe to people, and conversations don't last really long, especially if people really feel that you're nervous. And one thing that I could say is that you should have a drink. So having a drink actually gives one of your hands something to do. It keeps it busy, and then the other one is free to just move around and help you with your talking and make you look more relaxed. So make sure that you grab a drink the moment that you enter. There is always something interesting about a person, and giving a compliment automatically makes someone put their guard down a little bit, and it puts you in their good graces right away. But always make sure that the compliment you give is true. I hate it when people give false compliments. And also, I noticed this at conversations, that when somebody is giving a false compliment just to stay in a conversation, it really sounds insincere, and people can pick up on that. Another tip that I could give is to avoid asking questions with one-word answers. And if you must ask such a question, make sure that you have a follow-up. The worst feeling during small talk is when it starts to feel like it's some sort of weird interview, because a person just keeps firing random questions with not much, continuity in them. So when you ask someone how long they lived in a place and they give you the answer, a good follow-up question would be to ask them how they feel about it. Asking people about their opinion or their feelings about something normally gets them to talk more, and that is really the aim. The longer the conversation with the person you are talking to, the more information you will get. And these are leads into finding out what are some of the things that I have in common with this person. Is this person really somebody I would get along with? And is this the person that I could ask my deep and meaningful questions to, since I really just want to get over the small talk? Another question that you can ask, especially if you are at a casual event or a party being hosted by a friend, is to ask the person that you are talking to how he or she knows the host. This is a really good question, I feel, because it launches them into a story of how they met the person who's throwing the event, and later on, you get to tell that story too. I also love asking people what they do for fun. This is a question that can get almost anybody talking, because of course we love to talk about the things that are fun for us. Always remember that casual interactions can actually be a very positive experience for you. The goal is for you to make a good connection with this person right after the small talk. So you ask these questions, the basics, and once you get more information about that person, then you both get to decide if it's actually a good fit. Don't be scared or intimidated to just approach people and talk to them at a party. These events are there for a reason. They are socials, and you are there to socialize. I mean, what's the worst that could happen? Let's say you don't click with this person that you just met. That's how it is. Then you can move on and then meet other people at the party. This is the way it goes after all, especially for networking events. You're always looking for people who are a good fit. And if you're someone who's looking for friends, then that's also how it is. You really want to have friends who you have a good connection with, not something that is forced. Another thing to be mindful of is to not hog the conversation, especially if you're someone who loves to talk. So a good rule of thumb would be to keep answers and stories between 15 to 20 seconds. But if you're someone who's rather gifted in storytelling, then yeah, you can go a little bit longer. But of course, just make sure that you also ask other people what their opinion is, or you let other people tell their story afterwards as well. Nobody wants to talk to someone who just wants to talk about themselves and has no interest at all with others. So having that genuine curiosity, again, about other people, and having that feeling that you want to know more about others and not just tell others about yourself is actually very important. Another thing people love to ask about is how to never run out of topics for discussion, especially in these sorts of events. So personally, I attend a lot of diplomatic events because of my husband's job, and even before we got married, I also attended the same events because I was a TV reporter covering foreign affairs. Growing up, I read a lot. Until now, I still do, and especially when I have more time in my hands, I make sure to really have a book in my hand. So if you're someone who's new in the diplomatic circle and you're coming from a very different background, one advice that I could give is to read the Monocle magazine. It's my favorite magazine. I've loved it for years. I think, I was still in university studying journalism and it was already my favorite. I love recommending the Monocle to other people because it's basically a lifestyle magazine. It discusses world news, politics, and so many other interesting stuff. They have a travel issue, they have a food issue every year, and it's just a well-rounded publication that I really, really love it so much. And a lot of people who I recommended it to and who started attending diplomatic events have said that they always find something to talk about at the events they go to after reading that magazine. But also, don't be afraid to just bring your personal interests to these sorts of events, because you will always find somebody who you have something in common with. And lastly, if you were able to convert your small talk into an actual conversation that you both enjoyed, don't forget to exchange contact details with this person, or basically just ask them how you could meet them again. Or don't be afraid to ask, because again, what's the worst that could happen? Let's say they don't want to meet up again, then they just say it and then you can move on to another person. And so before I end today's video, I want to share with you something about our culture. Did you know that in the Philippines, one of the topics that we love to talk about is food? And one of our most common greetings to people is, "Kumain ka na ba?" And that's us basically asking you if you've already eaten. This is because we do a lot of our socializing over food. So it's a country of foodies. And with that said, thank you so much for watching. I hope that was fun and helpful for you. And Juancho decided to drop by for a little bit and say hi after his nap. But I think he's still sleepy, so he won't have much on-cam time today. There's always next time though. But yeah, thank you so much again for watching. I hope to see you guys in the next video. Till then, I hope you have a fruitful, wonderful day. Bye!